All right, everybody, welcome back to Digging Deeper. We have a guest today with us, Chris Smalls, a former Amazon employee. And before we get into our interview with him, I would like to share a trailer for a film that he is doing about his time at Amazon that I thought was really cool. And then we'll get into his story. I'm going to play this now, just the first couple minutes of this. It looks really interesting.
Working for Amazon, it was good, in the beginning. It was real good. I felt like I was a part of something huge, and they made me feel like I was needed. I was wrong. You come into these massive buildings, the technology that they have, and the perks, and the TVs, and the video games in the break room, and it takes your mind away from where you're actually at. At the end of the day, you break it all down. You're in a sweatshop.
Hundreds of employees are subjected to a regime described as horrendous and exhausting.
In a warehouse like this, you can walk up to 27 miles a day.
The number of items they pick, the number of steps they take, it's measured. And when they're not as productive as their colleagues, they're put on alert.
And they will find any excuse to fire you.
There's a line of other people waiting to take jobs.
We're expendable. We're replaceable. We're just nothing but a number to them.
This year, Amazon, which has more than 500,000 employees, was ranked one of the 12 worst companies to work for.
The warehouse workers have been overworked, the working conditions at times can be unsafe, and they don't have opportunities to get promoted.
Where is the compassion for people? Late February, COVID-19 came into play. That's when shit hit the fan. We were deemed essential workers. We didn't have a choice. We risking our lives for non-essential items. Clothing items, cosmetics, sex toys. What's essential about that?
Inside these warehouses, it's impossible to socially distance.
There was no guidelines being implemented, no masks being provided. What are we supposed to be doing here? Employees around me tested positive, and a domino effect.
It was online. They told me there was one case in the building, and it's actually 11, so I don't feel safe.
Amazon calls the organizers' accusations, quote, unfounded, adding, quote, our employees are heroes in this crisis.
How the hell are we heroes if we all getting sick? I couldn't just do nothing.
We are seeing a wave of labor action across the country in the midst of this pandemic. Yesterday, more than a dozen workers in Amazon's Staten Island warehouse walked out.
Media was calling me. Are you doing a protest on Monday? I said, you know what? Yeah, I am. 2 hours later, I was terminated.
Amazon has been very straightforward about the fact that it's trying to fight against having unions.
Amazon executives circulated a memo discussing plans to smear fired worker Chris Smalls. The memo stated Smalls is not smart or articulate.
I was disgusted. That right there woke me up to what we're dealing with now.
I'm very proud of the culture that we have at Amazon.
We're not treated as human beings. We're treated as part of the data stream.
The building failed us, the company failed us.
So much of this civil unrest is tied to economic inequality.
This company doesn't stand in solidarity with anybody, especially not the Black community.
It's not about Chris Smalls, never was. This is about the people. This is about all of us. I want you guys to know that we have the power, and they feel like they put a target on me. They picked the wrong person.
Because now, I'm going to fight. I'm not going to give up. Because I want everybody to know the truth about Amazon.
There you are.
Wow. That is incredible. Where to begin? I think the first thing I'd like to ask you is, how did you start working at Amazon, and how long ago was that?
I started working for Amazon back in 2015, so 5 years ago. And yeah, I started off in New Jersey. Carteret, New Jersey was my first building. I opened up 3 buildings for them.
Wow. And what was it like working there in the beginning when you first started? Did you notice any of these problems, or at first did you kind of think it was a good job?
No, yeah, I thought it was a good job at first because, Amazon wasn't where it was today. As far as productivity, back then it was less strenuous, so to speak. There wasn't a high quota of what they're subjected to now. So when I came in entry level, I felt like the job was very easy, which it was for me. And I saw the opportunities to get promoted up, which I thought would happen if I just work hard and came to work every day. But I was mistaken. Years later, I found that out.
Yeah, how much time did you put in there?
So my first year, I was an entry level worker making $12.75. Then I got promoted up to a process assistant in less than a year, actually. So I was a supervisor or assistant manager for the last 4 years. So I never really stayed in one position too long. Even though I was a supervisor, I had many departments underneath me as well.
So you were with Amazon for several years and you held many positions there. So you're probably somebody that has seen all of it from the inside of what it's like working at these Amazon warehouses. And in the trailer there, you made a comment that this is like sweatshop labor. And I think that that's absolutely correct. I have recently written an article about Amazon, and since the beginning of the pandemic, Jeff Bezos himself personally has been making something like $9.4 million an hour every hour.
That is actually correct. Yep.
Yeah, off the backs of everybody's work, but they're not seeing any of that money. Were Amazon employees given any kind of hazard pay during the pandemic?
We were given $2 up until June of last year, and that was it. They took that away May 31st. So for the last almost 6 months now, there's been nothing. Just regular pay, whatever they're getting paid.
Wow, that's insane. So there's no hazard pay. There's no kind of like incentive to be coming in and doing this work when everyone else is like shut down. And they're calling this essential work. But as you were saying there, how is it essential to be selling people beauty products right now?
Right. That was my concern, especially last year when Amazon was going out publicly and saying that they changed their inventory to only sell essential items. I'm like, when did they do this? Because for what I've been seeing from coming into work, we're still picking and packing the same stuff, the same items we were selling before the pandemic. So the fact that they were just lying to the public was another reason I wanted to take action against them, because it was just, too much for me to take in mentally.
Yeah, and did they provide any kind of like masks or anything for the employees? Did they change the layouts of the warehouse to accommodate a coronavirus, to keep people separated? Because I've read about how these warehouses work, and it seems like they're very crowded. Everybody's moving around and touching everything, and then they have the way that the packages kind of come down, people have about like I don't think it's very much time, but they have to be wrapping, and their productivity is being monitored constantly. So if they have to take a break, if they slow down, all of this stuff is being logged.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're tracked down to the second. The second you stop scanning the item, that time is counted against you. So as far as what they did in the beginning, nothing. That was the reason why I was in the office every day that week last March, the week before I got fired, because we weren't doing enough. They tried to stagger the breaks, but it didn't make any sense when you still have 200, 300 people taking break at a certain time. Then they tried to separate the tables in the cafeteria, But once again, with overcrowding, people are just standing up now, just standing around you, hovering around you. And there was no mask, there was no PPE, there wasn't anything given to us. So we had no facial protection. And New York City was the epicenter of the world at the time. People were dying every 15 minutes. And we had 5,000 people that come to that building in Staten Island. So we were definitely at risk every single day going in there. And people have died from that same facility.
Wow, that's incredible. One of the stories I had read about, I think it was a different warehouse, but they had an employee die at the warehouse. And the next day, they're doing their morning meeting and they don't say anything about this employee who passed away. There's no 5 minutes of silence. There's like nothing. They just go about this meeting and they're like, here's what we're going to do today to be really productive. And it's like, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it. Actually, I know one incident that I was there to witness. Somebody had passed away. It wasn't work related. They just probably had some type of medical issue. They passed away in the warehouse and it was business as usual just a few hours later.
That's pretty terrifying. And when you think about Amazon as a company, Amazon has sort of what I would call a monopoly, right? They have a monopoly on shipping right now, especially during coronavirus when many small businesses are shut down. People are using Amazon more than ever. And during this time, they were raising the cost of essential items, things like hand sanitizer, sanitizing wipes, toilet paper. They're raising the cost of these products during a pandemic, but not paying their employees any more money. They also have Amazon Web Services. So they have sort of a, their foot in the ground there. They've got Kindle, so they're publishing as well. And of course, selling books through Amazon's website. So if you think about it, and Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. He's got media, publishing, he's got the warehouses running right now. That's a lot of power for one organization to have.
Absolutely. That's capitalism to the finest T right there. If you're talking about controlling the market, that's what they do. They control the market. They put other small businesses out of business forever. These businesses, not even small businesses, major businesses as well, that we grew up in our communities are no longer there because of Amazon. If you go to, a main street in your town, a local main street in any town, any city, it's not the same as it used to be about 10, 15 years ago. So this is what's happening when we allow these tech companies to gain all this power. They destroy our communities, they set up shop, and they benefit off of the profits of people.
Yeah, and I think that Amazon is one of these tech companies that likes to pretend to care about social justice. They'll put up a BLM sticker on their website, but when it comes to actual policies or doing something, it doesn't seem like they're doing anything at all. So it seems like they use this to give their corporate image to make them look good. Oh, they care. They're doing something virtuous. But they're really not. I mean, they're giving lip service to it. Maybe they'll make a donation to an organization, but why aren't they changing their own companies? Jeff Bezos making almost $10 billion an hour every hour. Why can't he give some of that to his employees? Especially during a pandemic, why couldn't they be paid something like, $5-10 an hour extra? That is something Amazon could have afforded to do, and they still would have been making a profit.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, it's simple word would just be greed. This guy is just, that's what billionaires are. They can't seem to take the word no. They can't seem to understand that, they can end world crises instead of accumulating all this wealth that they can't spend in a lifetime. And Jeff Bezos don't become the richest man in the world in history by taking care of his workers. He has to exploit a class of people, and that's what he's been doing for the last 27 years.
Yeah, it's really sad. I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I have in my article here. He has something called like the gig economy. And here's the Amazon worker cage patent. This was a patent Amazon filed to literally put their employees inside a cage. I mean, this is truly bizarre. Why would you file a patent like that? I mean, look at that. That is insane. And so that's, to me, is insane. Then the latest came out with how Amazon treats its delivery drivers. They're being filmed inside their delivery vehicles. They've got AI cameras monitoring them, and they have these quotas that they have to meet. They don't have time to stop and use a restroom, so they're having to pee in bottles and defecate in bags, and then they're handling packages. What is the what?
Yeah, I know it's insane, but it's not even just the drivers; it's the warehouse workers as well.
It's everybody that works for
that's-
Amazon. It seems that's not at the top of the corporate ladder.
Yeah, we warehouse workers and essential workers, the drivers as well. When you're trying to meet that quota, I know my own personal experience. I had to withhold from relieving myself at the bathroom plenty of times, just to work to get my assignment done on time, or make an operation change on time in a timely manner. I had to withdraw from that and mentally just say, hey, look, I gotta wait another hour. I gotta wait another 2 hours. I gotta wait until I go on break. And unfortunately, we do hire senior citizens, and people don't have that, the same, mental capacity to hold themselves sometimes. And I've seen accidents happen within the warehouse. I know one story in particular. Somebody decimated the steps on the way to the break room because they didn't make it on time. And these are stories you would never hear about, but we knew what happened. And that's an embarrassing moment. But these stories are true. And it's a shame that we're subjected to that.
That's terrible, to not even treat people like human beings. It's just really stunning. And I don't think that people really understand what it's like working at these warehouses. I do think sweatshop is a really good description for it. And I had read that in one area, Amazon took over a warehouse that used to be run by GE, and GE was paying their warehouse workers $100,000 a year through a union, and they had health benefits, they had a pension. Amazon takes over that warehouse, and they pay people less than $40,000 a year. Yep. There's no unions and there's no pension. There's really no benefits. So if you had worked at the GE, that warehouse, when it was owned by GE, you're now making over 60% less than you were before. And now you've got no pension and no real benefits.
Yeah, no, that's once again, Jeff Bezos don't accumulate, the 90 billion that he does by taking care of his employees. So that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, and so I think some of the arguments that they make in favor of Amazon, typically this comes from conservatives, is that they create jobs. But if you actually look at what Amazon is doing, if they're taking warehouses that were paying people a living wage, giving them a pension and benefits, and then they're creating jobs where they're paying them 60% less, and there is no benefits, there is no pension, they're not really creating jobs, they're shifting them. And the way that they're shifting them does not benefit the worker.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, once again, they create jobs, but they also destroy people's lives. They hire and fire. That's what they do. They hire, people want to show out the numbers, which is, they hired 175,000 people in the middle of the pandemic. Now their workforce went from 600,000 to almost 800,000 nationwide. And they're not thinking about the ones that were there for years that are no longer there, like myself and others I know personally that either quit or got fired, or stopped going back to work because they were afraid of catching this virus. The people that's coming in there, these are seasonal. Some of them are seasonal, so they're not even there no longer. And also as well, the ones that are there now, they're putting themselves at risk. The viruses are still in these facilities, and they're not protecting these workers. Even 1 year later, I'm still getting people email me or reach out to me saying, they're afraid because they're working next to somebody who tested positive just days before. So, once again, this company needs to be held accountable.
Yeah, and it seems like, for some reason, these people always seem to get breaks, and I would say it appears to me that both political parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, neither one of them want to hold these corporations accountable for whatever reason that may be. Are they donating to their campaigns? I don't know. I think it's probably possible, and they probably lobby these politicians. But when it comes to something like maybe breaking up Amazon or putting some kind of government regulation on them so that they have to treat their employees better or at least pay them a living wage, it never happens. We've seen this for years. Going back to the economic crisis of 2008, where all these banks got bailed out, but none of the people did. People who lost their homes and lost everything. It seems like the American people are always the one holding the bag at the end. They're always the one that gets screwed over while all the corporations continuously get bailed out, for things that was their own problems that they created. And so it seems like, unfortunately, there's not a lot of incentive in government to do something about this. So then we ask, okay, so then what can be done? And I think that, what you are doing has been effective. And I think that the proof of that is how Amazon reacted to what you were doing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We got to attack Amazon from several different, ways. And I'm doing my part on the organizing side, and several others as well. There's amazing groups out there that have been on the forefront of this fight. And as well as Congress, they have to start implementing some laws, some legislative that will benefit the workers, the working class people. That's not haven't been done in this country for a very long time, talking about almost 40, 50 years. And when it comes to the antitrust committee, they need to stop giving them, like you mentioned, slaps on the wrist and really break this company up. This company is too powerful. It already is in a monopoly, and it needs to be broken up, so that it can be easily regulated and controlled, and also unionized as well. It'll make it a lot easier for us to unionize and pass the PRO Act. The PRO Act bill that's in the Senate right now, that's a start in heading in the right direction when it comes to organizing. If we're able to pass that, once again, it'll make it easier to organize and harder for Amazon to union bust or any corporation.
They have gone to extreme lengths to prevent unionizing. I have read that they were monitoring employees outside of work, not just at work. They were paying private companies, Pinkerton spies, to follow people after work to see if they were outside of work congregating and even talking about the conditions at Amazon, the possibility of unionizing or organizing in some way. That is very extreme. And it's just, it's so abusive. You are a company with all the power and billions of dollars, and you are spying on your employees, not just at work, but outside of work. That is insane. It's a violation of privacy and trust. There's nothing in any kind of employee agreement that gives them the right to do this stuff. They were paying employees who had talked about unionizing to leave the company. They give them a check for $2,000 to just leave. They went so far in one place at one of their warehouse locations to change the traffic lights because there were employees who were trying to stop other workers outside of work to give them pamphlets and flyers to say, look, this is something we need to do. We need to come together and organize so that we can get at least a living wage. And they changed that stoplight so that they're no longer sitting at a red light outside of that warehouse facility. That shows you the power that they have where they can change traffic lights.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I witnessed it myself. I went down to Bessemer, Alabama, a little over a month ago, and I seen the traffic lights for myself there. As soon as the car pulled up, it changed from red to green a couple seconds. So you don't have an opportunity to talk to the workers anymore. They're intimidated. Not only what you didn't mention is that they have a police presence at every entrance. So there's a police vehicle, SUV, at every entrance watching these workers. And they're being told that if they stop to talk, they will be terminated. Also, workers told me they have put them in 4 classrooms a day, 4 classes a day, just drilling a bunch of union busting non-facts about a union into their heads. So they're doing this. Imagine going to work and being placed in a classroom 4 times in one shift and broken down into groups of 20. So they're doing above and beyond things, unprecedented things that we never heard or seen before. And you're right, just for this company to be doing this, the richest company in the world, one of them at least, it's a shame, and it's very disheartening. But I believe that once again, we just got to stay resilient and continue to fight against them and expose all this.
Yeah, I think that they're also, very racist. It seems like they put their warehouse locations in urban areas that are primarily people of color, and they employ them. And it also seems like they're targeting immigrant centers so they can get people who are maybe undocumented workers there. And these, if you're somebody who's not documented and doesn't have real citizenship, there's no way you're going to go to authorities if you're being abused by this company.
Absolutely. That's what makes it harder to organize. I know that firsthand. I opened up 3 buildings for them, and I can tell you the majority of the workforce is people of color, Black, brown, and indigenous, are immigrant. And they're not going to stick up to their supervisors because they feel like Amazon has their information, which they do, and they can get deported. They'll send ICE to their homes and deport them if they rebel. So they're scared. They have that intimidation factor as well that they're using against us. So it makes it that much harder. But once again, we have to collectively fight back and support those that want to speak up. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, they can't stop everybody. They can't fire every single employee they have. At some point, there's not the people have more power than Amazon. They're the ones who are doing all of the work. They're the ones that are keeping everything running at Amazon. So, I think that I would encourage people, if you do work for Amazon, consider doing something and speaking out, because it's not just for you, it's for everybody else that's being abused and mistreated by Amazon. And if you don't do it, they're not going to stop their behavior. They're going to keep going and they're going to keep abusing people. And, they're not even paying folks a living wage. And I think that people are so desperate right now, especially during the pandemic, when people are losing their jobs and stuff, and they don't know how they're going to survive and make it. It's very difficult to try to come forward against a massive corporation like Amazon when you feel like, well, if I lose this job, I may never get employed again. I might be unemployed for a long period of time. But this is how the system is perpetuated, is because of these fears.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have to realize as workers that, Jeff Bezos is not going to come to the warehouse and pack 2,000 boxes a day or pick 5,000 items a day. And who really have the power are we. We have the power. We're the ones who accumulate the wealth for them and make him the richest man in the world. And we realize that, then we'll realize the value of our worth, and we'll be able to use that against them and have leverage. Forming a workplace committee, unionizing, speaking up collectively, that causes change, and that causes the movement to continue. And we're moving forward. Once again, it's only been a year since I've been fired, and I know that I made some type of statement when I did. So I'm hoping that other people follow suit as well, or at least have the courage to get involved. Reach out to me or reach out to organizations that are advocating. If you need that type of support, we're always here. That's what we have to do.
Yeah, you were kind of just to show people that one person can make a difference. I think Bezos was personally called in to like handle the situation with you.
Yeah.
I think they had some kind of corporate meeting where he was brought in and they said something like, he's not smart, he's not articulate. And they discussed, should we do a smear campaign on him through the media?
Yeah, Jeff Bezos himself signed off on that. So he spent his $10 million that day on his daily, on that hour at least, talking about me. So it's a shame, but at the end of the day, once again, yeah, one person can make a difference. And now, they have a whole bunch of us to deal with. And I mean collectively, the whole country, I think, is starting to notice what's been going on here. And a lot of organizations and several activists are taking action against them. So I'm happy to see that transpire.
Amen to that. I want to make sure I have your right Twitter account up. I want people to be able to find you very easily. Let me see if I got this pulled up. Oh, come on. This thing is still in my way. There it goes. So I have this one. Is this your correct Twitter account?
That is. Yep.
Okay. So you can find him on Twitter at shut_down Amazon. You can just do a search and you can find him that way. And he also has filed a class action lawsuit in the state of New York on behalf of Amazon employees. So that is something that I think is fantastic. There's also another organization here that I think you have helped create, the Congress of Essential Workers. The website for that is tcoew.org. And there's information here about how to contact them, how to get involved. And I think, that's fantastic. And yes, boycott Amazon.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I also have a podcast now. So it's called It's a Smalls World on YouTube. We had Sarah Nelson on there last week. You have a lot of great guests that come on every week. This week, I'm going to be interviewing Tim Bray, the VP who resigned last year in solidarity with the warehouse workers. So follow me on there as well. It's a great show. It's free. Subscribe. We do have a Patreon if y'all can donate as well.
Yeah, I would encourage people to support you and what you're doing. And another example of how you can get change in these massive corporations, what he just talked about, they had a I think was he like VP or engineering or something at Amazon Web Services step down. And in his memo, I think he put out like an open letter about why he chose to do this. He cited the way that Amazon was treating its employees.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's amazing that I was able to have a conversation with him even the day after he resigned. Never expected that as well, but he's a good guy. He definitely made a statement as well, and I'm happy to call him a comrade in the fight that we all in together.
Yeah, you don't know, who in these companies is listening. You might be able to cause change. I mean, it's not these companies are not monolithic. Not everybody at Amazon is a Jeff Bezos. You know, there are good people in these corporations and organizations that you can reach if you can just get your voice out there and your message out there. And, you know, I think that people coming together like that to support a working wage for people and some kind of benefits or pension for regular people, for working class people, is really important. America used to have a strong working class blue collar sector where you could make a living wage even if you didn't have a college education or a college degree, where you could still support yourself and your family. $15 an hour isn't enough. It's not a living wage. We can't even get minimum wage bills passed for $15 an hour. Look at inflation. The cost of living continues to go up, wages stay down, and that's not acceptable. And it shouldn't be happening in the wealthiest country in the world.
I agree 100%. I said that as well. I was capped out at $25 an hour living in the tri-state area. You either work in multiple jobs or, if you're fortunate enough to be in a relationship. But other than that,
Right.
You're not surviving by yourself trying to, raise a family. I'm a single father. I have 2 kids, 2 twins that I have to raise as well. 1 boy, 1 girl. And it's a struggle every day, every week. It's a struggle. So even working at Amazon, the richest company in the world, richest retail in the world. So, something has to be done systemically as well. We need to raise the minimum wage to what it should be. Actually, it should be $25 an hour minimum wage federally.
Yeah, I think that that's absolutely true. And I don't think that that's asking too much. We have many companies like Amazon who are similarly sort of monopolies. Big tech, places like Facebook, they do the same thing, the way that they treat their workers. They also have a large immigrant workforce, and they hold their visas over their heads to extract 60, 80-hour work weeks from these people. And they're not going to speak up because they don't want to be deported. You really can't do anything. And in that situation, this is modern day slavery.
Oh yeah, I agree. It is. It's actually the modern day slavery, and Amazon is definitely a prime example of that. Once again, exploiting the class of people, and when I mean the class of people, we're talking about majority Black, brown, indigenous, and immigrant, and that's the ones who are suffering the most. They're destroying our communities.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm going to include the links to your Twitter and to your website in the description to this video. And I hope to have you on again.
No, absolutely. Anytime. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And before you leave, if you don't mind, I'd like to just say one prayer for you.
Absolutely.
Heavenly Father, we ask you to protect Chris and to keep guiding him in the path that he is following. I think that you've given him a calling, and I think that you're putting him in a position to do something very important. And I ask that you continue to guide his path and keep him safe and help him accomplish what you want him to accomplish. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.
Bye.